Hail and well met, friends. My name is Ruan Hayden, and welcome to Witch Talk, a brand new show dedicated to you, our viewers. On Witch Talk, we open the line for you to ask your questions. Many people have been interested in such things as witchcraft, the New Age, prophecy, and more. I have always been a witch. It began back when I was about 7 years old. It was then that I had my first visions. I would see, in a lucid state, certain events which, miraculously, in my mind, would come to pass. It began as small things and manifested as various coincidences, synchronicities, and the like. Such things as certain missing people, car accidents, and weather storms. I don't remember ever really having normal dreams. As they progressed, they began to take on scary undertones. Scary for a young child. I saw events on a national scale. In fact, I, along with thousands of other people, gifted with the sight, have seen devastating events, such as September 11th, the elections of Obama, Trump, Biden, and even the insurrection. When I expressed these visions to my family, I was, like most children, pushed aside and ignored. Now, a few family members took me under their wing, but it wasn't until the late 80s, early 90s that I found that I was not the only one. I began to study and practice ceremonial magic and any books I could find to help me come into control of these abilities. For decades since, I have helped to educate, support, and mentor others with what I have learned these last 30 plus years. I'm an ordained minister through the International Metaphysical Ministry founded by Dr. Leon Masters. I am studying with the Temple of Witchcraft in their mystery school, working through year two as we speak. I hold a Bachelor's of Science in Psychology from the University of Phoenix and a bachelor's degree in metaphysics from the University of Metaphysics. Not counting this, I am also an oath taken fairy friend and member of the Circle of the White Stag community. So, for the next hour, I am going to be here in this space to answer your questions. If I don't know the answer, I will get back to you because no one knows everything. I was reading last week, and this why I created this show. I was reading Raven Gramassi's book, Witch Lore by the Hearthside, and let me quote what really sparked in my head to create this show. It says, and I quote, "Come now and sit by the hearth, and we will speak of the old ways of witchcraft. The hearth is the place where stone and fire come together, for this is body and spirit. Here the story, spirit, lives in the memory or the body, and so we can recall the ways that have been passed down to us. But to know who we are today, we must know first who we have been. The flickering light of the hearth fire casts shadows about us. These shadows are the spirits that preserve all that has come before. They move in the air and give life to ancient memory. They say to us, recall. We have been known by many names in many places over the passing centuries. We have been called shaman, sorcerer, sorceress, wise one, oracle, healer, and witch. Our story is written on the stones and carried on the winds. It pours forth from moonlit cauldrons and rises in the smoke of our incense. That was the basis to make me come up with this show, Witch Talk. I provide a lot of other services that I do. A lot of other videos. I got a Dragon's Voice on Sundays. And for my Patreon patrons, I do have a Fairy Friday where we just gather together and talk, very much like this. And so reading that quote by Raymond Gramassi, it came to my head that everyone's working on these Tarot Tuesdays and Witchy Wednesdays and, you know, the slow building of community. And so I decided, I've got a lot of people that I talk to, um, that I interact with and network with that have a lot of great wisdom, to share with the rest of the world. And then I thought, I need to provide a forum for my patrons, for my clients, and for the world at large. I don't know everything. I do know quite some stuff, and I've had some experiences. And I would like to give back to the community that has given me so much throughout my life. You see, even though I had relatives that took me under their wing, I also had relatives that were, let's just say, post satanic panic, um, where a lot of the stuff that was coming out, like Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering, harkened back to the satanic panic and the influences of such movies as The Exorcist, um, Nightmare on Elm Street. It really hinted from a church view on the stuff that came out: witchcraft, the New Age, the occult, and it caused a environment of fear. I was raised in such a fear-based household. I fought, probably in ways I shouldn't have, to learn, to grow as a person, and to embrace these ways which brought me so much comfort that I was not getting as a child. But I was fought against. I did not have the right to have my own mind and opinion. I was not allowed to discover other religions, let alone bring books into our home. I was a voracious reader. I read anything and everything I could come across, even hinting at the power of witchcraft and magic. And I found it. And so, for the next hour, I am going to be here in this space, this hearth fire, to answer your questions. And like I said, if I don't know the answer, I will lead you towards that answer, very much like a gopher, because that's how our community works. If we don't know something or need help, we talk to another person, we seek another service. And that is the important part, especially what's going on in the world today. So let's gather, let's have a chat, build community, and get to know one another. You have the floor. But speaking of experiences, actually, I did have an experience last night. Actually, now my grandfather, one of my mentors, near the end of his life, um, he and I, when I was really little, we would gather together whenever he could get away from the rest of the family. And me and him would talk about my visions, talk about what I've learned of the craft. And he was the one that told me to keep hush hush because the rest of my family just would not understand. And so when we would gather together, we didn't have a cup of tea, we didn't have pop. What we had shared between me and him was a drink called Clearly Canadian. And every time I would see him and stuff, I'd get, this is when I get Clearly Canadian to spend time with my grandpa. Well, a few years ago, they quit making that, at least bringing it here into the United States. And there's very few places now that carry it. You know, I haven't seen it in Walmart, haven't seen it in other places. Um, and it was something that really held us together. And as a witch, as a fairy faithful, it's important to me to honor my ancestors, honor those who have spiritually and physically caused me to be where I am faithfully at right now. And so I've been working a lot with um, Raven Gramazzi's other book, The Cauldron of Memory, particularly genetic memories and connecting with our ancestors. And we actually found a place after all these years that I could still get some clearly Canadian. I knew this was a sign that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do because my mentor, my teacher, my fam trad, I guess, because now it's gone second generation. At least I don't know about the whole mytho history and legends, but I was able to get some thanks to my beautiful, wonderful wife. Um, an actual bottle. Of course, you can't really see it because of the green screen, but a bottle of clearly Canadian. In fact, three flavors. Um, I believe my grandpa's favorite was blackberry. And so last night, I was able to give offering to my grandfather. I was given the opportunity to connect with him through what we connected with before, our love of clearly Canadian. And so last night I did a breaching. No petitions this time, just something for me to connect with my grandfather and our line all the way back to at least Cuneta. Um, and last night, in response, I had another vision, another dream. And as all my dreams tend to be, they all tend to be nowadays very violent. And maybe this was influenced by the consistent Christian overbearingness upon my young mind. You know, I voraciously having visions in the sight, many different prophecies across the world. As many as I can find, and I began to see. Now I call fate the weave. That's my personal name for it. Very much. Actually got that from Forgotten Realms, the weave of magic that weaves fate. I started to notice that the events I saw and the events which were occurring were like nodal points. Like when you're weaving, um, like a spider's web, when a spider weaves its web, there are points between the strands that connect together. Well, I began to see these coincidences, these dreams, these visions of these events. I honestly don't know if um, these things are true. I'm just a student of prophecy, though my visions seem to tend toward these prophecies that I have read, and I began to see um, these nodal points connect together. When one choice is made, another choice comes up, or another strand of choices. Like as a fairy faithful of the Diwennis tradition, I guess, um, we see that fate, that streb, that streams of fate can be influenced by the unseen, which is also influenced by the seen. And when certain choices are made, it sets, consequences. Well, I began to see how these choices interweaved. I was able to start to intuit a little further on down the line. And I believe that is how prophecy comes to pass, is through the choices of individuals. Our world for the last 1500 plus years has been under the grip of certain Abrahamic faiths, their scriptures, and their prophecies. And I believe wholeheartedly, without a doubt, that these things, in a way, will come to pass. And it's because they wanted to, even subconsciously. They want these terrible things to happen. You know why? What is the end result of these scriptures? Non believers gone and only them. And so, when I started A Dragon's Voice, this ministry, it was to be a means for me to get out what I needed to get out. Right or wrong, I needed to get it out. Not to hype any sort of ego or power trip or narcissism. But if I'm having these things, I'm sure I'm not the only one having these things and these ideas. And so I was thinking as I was having these dreams, because it was a lucid dream, I wondered where my grandfather played into this. Like I said, last night I did an offering to my grandfather. And I remembered something he said in the dream as it unfolded behind me. It was like we were sitting here at our hearth fire, learning the stories of the ancients. And I began to see that maybe, just maybe, there is a way to stop these key events from happening. And the best way to do that is to be a dragon's voice. What do we think of when we think of dragons? We think of beasts like St. George and the dragon. We see them being trampled. And the Abrahamic faiths are well known for that trampling. In fact, they wrote it into their book of Revelations. And as I was sitting there in my lucid dream with my grandfather, me and him had a little talk. I believe that he is indeed proud of me and that I needed to be here for you guys to answer any questions on my posts, my previous videos, my understanding of 30 plus years of many different metaphysical and occult arenas. And it was important me to be there for you, just like I am for my patrons on our Fairy Fridays. And so I figured Tarot Tuesday should be over. There was enough people who do Tarot Tuesdays, and there are not enough people who gather around the hearth fire. So this time is for you. All you have to do is leave a comment, and I will answer your questions. I don't know everything. In fact, I don't know anyone who would say that they do. And if I can answer your question, I will. And if I can't, I will lead you in the right direction, at least as much as I can, because I don't know everything. I don't know. Maybe I should go grab a tarot deck. I don't like dead airtime. It makes me nervous, you know, because in the last 2 years, I've gone from complete introvert, scared of the camera, to being here 3 times a week. Um, in fact, I do this more than I actually, have clients. Um, I do a lot of work for my patrons, though. I do their divinatory readings, complimentary. Um, I do distant healings, also complimentary, depending on their tier level. I do offerings, petitions, and spells for you know for others, and so dead air time really really scares me, and so I start rambling and ranting, and you know because I do this even off the air. I talk with them over there. I talk to animals. I talk to trees. Just like I would talk to anyone else. With respect, with honor, with joy, because our experiences as a species, our experiences with other species, is important. It is when you realize the personhood of everything around you, you really begin to open to a concept of animism and less much on the concepts of the gods. Raven, sorry, Cat was scratching up some stuff. Like I said, relationship. She tends to listen pretty good, feed her, clean her, box, talk to her like a decent entity. But she can be a little mischief maker, just like any other individual on this planet. But just chilling here. Maybe I should make a comment post. Be afraid of asking questions. This time is all for you. There, right in the chat. I don't know, maybe I should put on some music and start meditating. Just waiting for people to show up, or oh, I did finish my staff that I had been talking about the last 2 years. I don't have it on hand right now. It has decided to. Uh, it's in bed, I guess. And that's what happens when you work with a fairy. They like to, you know, a little bit of teasing, a little mischief making and stuff, because, just like, we like to do the same thing to other people. And usually this is a sign of of the actual interaction you do um, build relationship, and it affects the seen and unseen in so many ways, um, because of those nodal points. So for the next 30 plus minutes, I am here to take your questions, comments, stuff you want to talk about. This time is all for you guys. You know, gather around the hearth fire and let's just build community, you know. And I will be here waiting for that whole time. This is all for you, for the community that has given me so much. I mean, totally. I have 30 plus years of personal experience. I have worked with others and other traditions. I am a co-founder of TA Eldelieva, um, one of the newer IRS approved groups where we took Tolkien's spirituality from his legendarium and made it a viable lifeway. I've got degrees in metaphysics and psychology. So I'm just going to be here. Maybe I should light a candle. Maybe I'll learn to do an opening. I don't know if StreamYard really allows that, but maybe I'll do a fancy introduction. I'm not good at stuff like that. I'm not even really good at really talking. And a lot of that came from being isolated as a child. And so this time is for you, for the viewers. Um, if you have any questions on anything, I mean, I'm here for you. This time is for you. I have nothing pre-prepared. I have no anything. It's Hearthfire, you know, family and community. So if you got anything to say, any experiences, or you just want to talk, go ahead, leave a comment, and let's talk. You know, why not? I mean, what's it gonna hurt? It's just another hour to just kind of unwind, to build relationship, to get to know each other. Um, yeah, I really do a lot, and since I have no questions yet, I here there's my website. Um, Go ahead and check it out. I know I have a few things to update on there. I've got so many social media accounts that it has me zipping left, right, and center, and it's hard to keep up on all of them. I do most of my work over here at Patreon. I do put out um, um, public posts over there too. It makes it easier for me to share it to the various social media. And honestly, every time I do, I'm like, I get that exhalation of it's done, as well as I'm sure someone's going to get pissed off about something I've said. And so I guess this venue thingy, the show can be for the same. If you want more clarity on who I am, then ask away. I mean, this is all for you. So yeah, if you've got any questions, I'm here. I don't know, maybe I should have grabbed my tarot cards and stuff and just at least have something to shuffle because I'm autistic and sitting still and being quiet is like not my thing. I like to rant, I like to vent, I like to talk. And so, here I am rambling away. But that's because I do the same thing. I'm one of those, I talk to myself because honestly, I'm really not talking to myself. You are never really just talking to yourself. I've learned through this 30 plus years that there are things that we cannot see or that we do not comprehend as having personhood. And so you are honestly never alone. That's not even counting what some traditions call their holy guardian angel, their wandering soul, their higher self, that part of them that's eternal. Um, I kind of talk to it too. I know it's listening. It may not have anything to say back in any way that I understand or can recognize most times. But I know that there's that interaction. And so, when I have questions, I ask it out loud. And sometimes I get an answer. And so, because I have that relationship, I wanted to extend that relationship to the world, you know. You know, let's get to know each other. Let's build a network of people organically, not through some fancy group, some organization. Like I do have my own coven tradition, family based, tribal based. Let's just put it that way. Nothing extravagant as that. Just people around the world just being here on this video, talking and you know learning. I think that's really it. Um, we learn different perspectives, not only on witchcraft, the occult, New Age community stuff, but we learn so much more about culture, about history. We learn stuff about what's going on in our local areas. We build our own fairy tales. It is not just world events is important. Individual events, experiences, unverified personal gnosis, all of them are relevant and all of them should have a voice, at least to be heard and pondered and um, elucidated by people who live these experiences. Not to doubt, not to cast shadow or shade on anyone, but to just talk, to see what other people hold dear, the the happiness, the enjoyment, the sadness, the pain, and the hatred. All of these encompass what makes us who we are. And because we are who we are, we can get to know each other and be sharpened like like a blade, a sword, a sword of individual truth, subjective truth, some people would say. But those subjective truths, when held by a great majority through such thing as morphic resonance, it spreads out. It encompasses almost a wave of its own, which influences things that we cannot see and thus creates our reality. And so a lot of my work has been about prophecy, about the corruption, the degradation of each other, nation to nation, across the planet, and even in our local communities. In order to undo a lot of this disconnection, is to have forums like this Hearthfire, to break through the disconnection that we have with the world around us. We usually stick to our own passive aggressive posts, but I think that we all should have a community to talk, to shape ourselves like that sword, to learn from others. And that's why I created this show. Got rid of Tarot Tuesday and created Witch Talk. Because I'm a witch. I'd like to talk. You may like to talk. So let's talk, ask questions concerning the occult, witchcraft, my perspective on things. Um, as I was saying earlier about dragons, the dragon is also symbolized as the earth itself in the global consciousness, the personhood. And so when I created a Dragon's Voice Ministries, it was to be a voice, not only what my experience, my learning, my truth, but to tell others that you have a voice too. You are a child of this earth. You are a child of the dragon and all of her related communities. So you also have a voice. You are, like myself, a Leithathreg, a voice of the dragon. And the only way we're going to get out of these turmoils that our consciousness has created is to bridge the gap, to make oneself present for others. Because some people don't have a sense of community. Some people are still in the broom closet or have not told um, others around them that, they believe these certain things, they hold to these certain things because of fear of persecution, discrimination, and alienation. And that's what I had growing up. A lot of alienation, a lot of persecution. And so I was almost always grounded because I fought for my right to choose my own faith, to learn more about it, and to practice it. And all I got was persecution, literal violence. And I know there's others out there. So let Witch Talk be your voice. I promise you that when you come into your own, you find that self sovereignty, you become the voice of a dragon because you are a dragon. You are a child of the dragon. And if you want change in this world, you've got to speak up. You've got to do something. You've got to experience what others have to say. And that's why I'm here right now. I want to know more that is real, raw, your fairy tale. And maybe to answer any questions you may have about any subject. Or at least, like I said, my perspective. I have 30 plus years in this witchy, new age, pagan spirituality. 30 plus years. And I didn't have much people to look to for guidance myself. Like I said, post satanic panic, most of my issue was before um, there was really much literature out there readily available, you know, right pre, well, early um, internet things. And so my time at school was my time to learn, to libraries, when I wasn't grounded for being a witch, and so since I didn't have much in the way of hands-on, hands-on training, you know, working through guided visualizations, working through breathing exercises, um, that I want to give back. I want to be there to mentor and guide, to give what I've learned that I did not get, you know, when I was new or I'd been practicing for a while. And so that's kind of what guided me to where I am today. I had a lot of people growing up that did come to me for it's like I was always made to do this. All my friends, when they were having problems, who'd they come to? They came to me. And I helped them, and their lives improved dramatically. And so when I came out of the broom closet, that's when I started doing tarot readings for others. I started answering real questions to people that the whole I know a friend who knows a friend. And back then, I did the stuff for free. I didn't know, because of the way we've been taught as a society, that, well, these religious officials and other faiths, they have congregations. They mostly, in a sense, in their dogma, have the idea of tithing. And so we would barter because, we're that young. We didn't really need lots of money. I don't even know how we all survived, especially living on the streets when I was. Um, and so I sought ordination. I found the University of Metaphysics, and the International Metaphysical Ministry. And when I graduated with the Bachelor's in Metaphysics and was ordained in 2016 is when I finished those courses. I started doing hand fastings, hand partings, which are kind of like weddings and stuff. For those who don't know, they're not usually, they can be legalized because they are an official religious ritual. In most states, you have to be registered with the state to officiate. Washington, you don't have to, but you know, to each their own. I did get registered uh, because I wanted a verification that I could do these things without illegalities. And then that's when I started to get a little more hands-on experience, actual training from other people. And so right now I'm in my second year with the seminary program for the Temple of Witchcraft. Um, and I will tell you, even with those 30 plus years, I am amazed at the sophistication of receiving that training and that guidance. And so while a lot of the stuff that you know, I am learning now and stuff is oath bound, in the sense that it's not something I can share with you, out of sacredness for the school. I want to help others kind of have those same experiences. I'm not much of a writer. My posts can seem off sometimes. I do have bipolar I am bipolar. I have bipolar. Yeah, affirmations. So sometimes it's really difficult to do things. Um, in fact, sometimes it's memory, but I do see where I get around that when it comes to remembering certain things. If a question is asked in the right way, it's like that information is channeled. And I believe that's one way in which my work with my ancestors, with the indwelling spirits, how it kind of happens. It's like a intuitive thing. It goes straight from here out here with very little blockage. Let's just say that head to mouth filter that people have when they're interacting with others. It just kind of goes away. And so sometimes I'm like, what did I say? You know, because I don't remember, most times. That's why I do these recordings and stuff, because I go back and I watch. It's like, what did I say? Did I really say that? And so um, that's why I've created this forum, do the whole Socratic method, because Socrates would, would take questions. That's how he based his philosophical discourses. Is he took questions, and sometimes he would ask a question in return, but he would just answer what he knew at that relevant time. To For him, it would be his students, um, and so I wanted to create a venue here with Witch Talk to be a venue for questions. And so every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific time, I will be here at this event, this time space, to make space in my busy days and my witchy nights, and just be here in the moment for anyone who has questions. Now, I know I don't have many viewers. I know I'm not some big shot with some fancy recordings, and you know, I understand why people do that, this showmanship, but I've never been a showman. I mean, people say I have charisma. I don't know where they're getting that idea, honestly. But, I'm not fancy. I live in a trailer. I'm very much connected with my Romani roots. And so, living in a trailer after so many years of living in a house, even with my background, it's difficult. And so I've learned that we have to have priorities in what we own, because you don't have much space living in a trailer. But see, then that brought me to the thing of one thing that every indigenous people hold true at their core, or at least that we know of. We do not, cannot, and should not proclaim to own the earth. And it goes deeper. It goes deeper than that. Not just the words I just said, it goes deeper. Since we don't own the land, we live upon the land. The land gives us life, it gives us death. So, who really owns, if owning could exist? Us. And that's when it clicked. We can't own the land. We can't proclaim to even really be stewards of the land. That is a form of narcissism that we see or have been regurgitated to us through Abrahamic scriptures, you know, more pronouncedly given out through the vocal means of Christian organizations and charismatic leaders. And so when I realized that, that's when I started also coming to the idea that the gods, plural, that we know of were worshipped, worked with, worship um, with. Likewise, as passed down to us through written word, was not so different from the national sagas that we now call the Quran, the Torah, and of course the New Testament. They were clearly politically influenced. They're cults. Cult is, of course, in this term used is short for culture. Their paradigm proclaimed certain things. Now, whether those experiences were true or not, um, I leave to my viewers to untangle. But what if, and I'm sure many others have come to this too, what if every other mention of gods and goddesses likewise were culturally influenced and specific paradigms created, and not necessarily the true experiences that led to those written and spoken words? That's when I really started digging deep into folklore, into the localized and individual stories of actual experiences, such as the visions of Isabel Gowdy, Mabinogi, my own ancestral connection, strongest with the Kimreig. Of course, the local stories among the Irish and stuff about the little people, the Scandinavians, their experiences. And so I started less worrying about this god does this and this god's connected to that, and realized that, for me at least, the idea of archetypes. Now, mind you, I have a degree in psychology. The idea of archetypes, when it comes to interacting with spirits, who who I've learned have personhood, could not be so transcendently separate, like mental projections. There was more of a personhood. They had personalities, identities, even names and symbols, very much like the Goetia of ceremonial magical fame, the summoning of demons or planetary spirits. Um, Within those paradigms, kind of locks them in. But the thing is, what if those paradigms are really just boxes? Little boxes that one places oneself in, and thus they can't branch out and learn more about other spirits. And so I worked with local spirits, Oh, really? Complete and utter bullshit. You have a right to your opinion. But then again, what's your opinion on whatever I've had to say? For those who can't see it, this is Thunder Cunt Smith, and this person says, I've got to admit, this is an incredibly impressive display of complete and utter bullshit. Well, what's your truth? Why don't you share it? I'm just telling my story. That's what I'm here for. Just to build community, relationship, and just get to know other people. But at least your comment is pretty much grammatically correct, so glad to see that. So you say it's not opinion. When you talk about spirits and claim to know the existence of them absolutely, you are attempting to take advantage of people who are gullible. You know, and unfortunately, in the occult community, there's a lot of people like that. Um, you say spirits do not exist. You know it, and then I know it. Well, why do you say that? What is your experience? Because all I can say is my truth, my subjective truth. I have no experience with spirits since they don't exist. Good for you. Good for you. Like I said, we have different experiences, and our experiences shape selfhood. And that's why I'm here, is to get to know other people, other people's views. Good afternoon, Amy. Thank you for being here. Maybe you can chime in. Me and this person, um, Thunder Cunt Smith from YouTube, is talking about me claiming absolutely that spirits exist and that I am attempting to take advantage of people who are gullible. I don't see how I don't see how they don't, because that's not been my experience. And so this person, this Thunder Cunt Smith, says that they have no experience with spirits since they don't exist. Well, I asked about, why, and I'm still waiting for a response. What is your personal, this is a hearth fire, we gather together and we just talk. But what is the rest of my viewers' thoughts on this person's paradigm? Because me personally, oh, we have reached the end of our show. It is 1 hour, and I've got to mind my time because I use StreamYard and the free account only allows up to 20 hours a month. So I'm going to leave it with that. And since I'm evidently trying to bilk gullible people of their money, here, I'll even do an advertising spiel. This ministry is being sponsored by my Patreon patrons and viewers like you. If you wish to know more about, what I do, you can hop over to ruandehayden.com. Um, I don't update it very often because it's very simple. My services, I do most of my work over on Patreon, and I make sure that I leave open that I leave open um, posts to share with the public. I do most of my writing over there. I, of course, do all my videos now here through YouTube because I got tired of Facebook's methodology. But if you would like to get some of the writings that I don't share publicly, or would like to, you want to go ahead and support this ministry, then, go ahead, you can go over to Patreon and sign up. If you wish to give only $5, I got a $5 tier. That is honestly nowadays less than a cup of coffee. And that goes to, of course, yes, pay my bills because we live in a capitalistic society, or at least we claim to not live as an oligarchy. I do use this money to pay my bills, and those bills include stuff for this work that I do. Um, if you only wish to give once, um, you can, of course, use PayPal. I have my dead name down there, Rev Adam J. Hayden at gmail.com. Or you can even cash at me at the little money sign Ruan D. Hayden. And that was Witch Talk Radio with yours truly. It definitely gives us something to consider and ponder upon. And maybe next um, week or even on my Sunday show, I will go into more of the ideas of spirits, the animistic view that I hold through experience, and the psychological view of archetypes and schemas. So join me Sunday for A Dragon's Voice, also on here at YouTube at 4 p.m. Pacific. And for my patrons, I will see you on Friday, also at 4, for our Fairy Friday book study. And so, with that in mind, salute to my grandpa. I finally found some clearly Canadian. And a salute to you. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Blessed be.